Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today's guests are my friends from the 3M Scotch brand with some exciting new inventions in the world of packaging. We've got Marcia Popa and Tom Corrigan. How are you guys?
Great.
Super, great.
Thanks for having us.
Excellent. Thanks for being on the show. This has been a long time coming. I've been talking about your product on TikTok and LinkedIn for a long time. I think it's a really cool innovation in the world of packaging, especially sustainable packaging, which is why you're on this show. Let's talk about you. Tell me about yourselves. Tell me what your title is and a little bit about your backgrounds.
All right, I can start. I'm Marcia Popa, and I'm a packaging engineer by trade and packaging nerd, self-professed. I went to Michigan State for packaging. I've always worked in packaging my whole career. And now I am the application engineer for Scotch brand's package protection products.
And I'm Tom Corrigan. I'm an inventor of technology and products here at 3M. Been here a long time, worked all over the company and invented the cushion lock technology in the product, and just love working with amazing people like Marcia here in the company.
It seems like an incredible company. I know it's got a long history of amazing inventions like Post-it notes, for example, things that affect us all that we maybe don't realize. But Tom, can you tell us how this invention came to be?
Sure. So just as the genesis of the cushion lock product itself, I had been in the, working in the corporate labs, this was like over a decade ago, working on some fundamental technology to take flat sheets of material and make them more conformable so they could drape over complex surfaces. And the way I did that was by creating slit patterns in these sheets. And that's something we like to call kirigami. You've probably heard of origami, which is folding of paper, like as an art form. Kirigami is cutting and then folding. So kind of inspired by that, I had been working this area. And then two of my colleagues that I had already known from earlier in my career, but were in the Scotch group here in the Scotch lab, Patrick and Manoj, they came and we were kind of chatting one day, and they said they were working on trying to develop a new package protection product. That was like a new growth area within the Scotch division. And that kind of led to an actual sabbatical from the corporate labs. I came into the Scotch group, spent a year just like playing with creating patterns and doing cool stuff, collaborating with people. And but the real kernel of inspiration came sort of out of the blue in July 4th weekend of 2019. I was up in northern Minnesota hanging on a hammock at a lake and just suddenly realized the way that I could modify the pattern so that regions of the flat sheet would rotate fully 90 degrees. So again, they start flat, but they rotate up. And that is what I call a folding wall kirigami pattern, which is the foundation. It's really the foundation of cushion lock, so that when you pull on this stuff, you get these regions that are fully, sticking vertical. They had been flat, but then they pop up and they become vertical. And so basically assembled a great team, got lots of other people on board, some really cool Jenny and Jen from the marketing and Caleb and claims, and did some cool manufacturing work, built a bunch of prototypes, got some internal senior leaders as champions who were kind of helping us march stuff forward. And then within 2 years, we'd already kind of started. So by the end of 2021, we were already doing soft sales and kind of testing the market. And now 2022, we've just been kind of getting started and building from there.
Amazing and well done. It's an exciting story, and it's really cool to hear when something is organic like that. And it seems like it was invented kind of thinking about nature. I see the honeycomb pattern behind you, and that's what I think of when I see that material extended. It was beehives on your mind when you invented it?
Yeah, it's funny. It certainly has that look, and there is something fundamental about the strength. Like I say, you think about biomimetics as a thing in the industry. People talk about trying to engineer materials that work in ways that are inspired by nature. And certainly that's absolutely an element, that the art of kirigami, and just like I say, having the time culturally within 3M to really, I had a full year to just play with creating something, which is an amazing opportunity with all the materials and everything I needed. So absolutely, yep. And then when it came down to it as an engineer, I was really looking for that, getting us something that rotated fully 90 degrees, and that folding wall is kind of the magic. If you think, you wouldn't build a fence slanted at a 45-degree angle. You'd build a fence, right. You want it to be vertical. And if you built a fence and it zigzags like this, most people know that would actually be a really strong fence. And that's exactly what this is. And then, one of the enhancements, adding the little finger-like projections on the top, allows it, it's very conformable. You wrap it around an object. So you have like layer upon layer of these folded walls. They're very strong, absorb a lot of energy. And then these fingers that give it additional loft and also interlock with itself. So you don't need scissors or tape to use the material. You just wrap it around an object, fill the space, maybe compress it a little in the box, and it does a great job of protecting items.
I agree. It's been very easy to use. I've been doing lots of demonstration videos. The first TikTok I made has over 6 million views, and people are interested. They are very interested in what you're doing. So well done. And would you say that this is a replacement for plastic bubble?
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the biggest sustainability benefits over, that we have over bubble. And we sell bubble. Scotch has cushion wrap bubble, but our president has even said he'd rather not sell it in the future, if we can replace it with this. So it's not only that this is 100% recycled paper to begin with, and that's the only input, the only raw material in it that then gets cut. So it's 100% recycled and paper versus the plastic that is maybe store drop recyclable. People probably aren't taking that bubble back to stores to recycle it because they can't curbside recycle it usually. And then it's just such space savings too. So like you did in one of your features was, one truckload of our 1,000-foot cushion lock would be the equivalent of 10 trucks of, standard 3/16 bubble. So just that transport, so the LCA type benefits of it, and then just storage space for anybody that's using it as well. They don't have to have a whole wall of bubble in their, home office or mail room or whatever, or in inventory. So it also is a good replacement for one of our competitors that we've kind of amped it up, or for Tom's technology has made it. He said, he's got some things that are a little different with those fingers and just that 90-degree turn. Ours lofts more, expands thicker, and then it also interlocks better, is more conformable than what we're seeing in most others out there. And most others are what we're seeing, 40% recycled content versus 100% recycled content. And then we took it all the way through in that for the curbside recycling of ours, where I talked about, store drop for the other, our curbside recycling, I tested it with a local manufacturing recycling facility or municipal recycling facility. There has different terms for it, but the MRF, the MRFs. Yeah. And, shredded paper from like office and copy paper and things like that is usually not good to go through the recycle system because it doesn't sort out well. It goes all over. This kind of looks like shredded paper, but it stays together. So we tested it. They also were concerned that maybe if it is in its, blob form or in a shape, it would go and think it's maybe like a rigid, a can or a bottle. But I sent them a big box of it, and they were happy to see that it sorted out through their system. They're like, we'd love to see this instead of the plastic bubble or film type things that then end up getting stuck on their conveyors and rollers and cause a lot of downtime. So this, and then they were going to share it with their consortium of MRFs to kind of raise awareness and share the good news, I guess, with everybody. So
it is good news. It's exciting that there's a new product on the market that's a sustainable option. I got to visit a MRF in Atlanta. It was at the Sustainable Packaging Coalition event last week. It was amazing to see the materials go down the line and the workers and the robots sorting, and paper and OCC were one of the most recycled items because they're, I think, the easiest to identify maybe. But like you said, if it's held together. So that's one thing that really drew me to this product. I've heard the performance is also very stellar, Marcia. You've been dropping this from 3 stories up with eggs inside. Is that true?
Yep. So we did an egg drop early on. Actually, probably it was in 2020 when we were, in the midst of COVID, we were able to come in. So Caleb, who Tom referred to as our claims specialist, and you'll meet him over Pack Expo. But we did a drop from 3rd floor of our lab building, and we didn't get any scrambled eggs. So that was good. And then we also worked with a 3D printing company as kind of like this customer inspired innovation. And when we were there, just in working with them, we kind of did a fun thing at the end after we had introduced it to them for a day or so, and did a competition. They could pick whatever packaging material they wanted, including ours, and then wrap up an egg and then put it in a box and then throw it through their basketball hoop in their receiving area. And it passed that too. So we've done a couple fun things with eggs. But then more seriously, we have done a test protocol that mimics the ISTA 3A, the International Safe Transit Association 3A ship test, that simulates small parcel shipments. So maybe like, you know, an Amazon, a USPS, UPS type shipment. So it's very severe if you're not familiar with it. It's 9 drops from a prescribed height based upon size and weight, and then the vibration testing that simulates the truck going down the road, and then with top load on it based upon the size of the box. So heavier weight on top of it, because in the back of the truck, it would potentially have stuff stacked on it. And it had different orientations for different sequences, and then another set of drops. And we've done ceramic coffee mugs, glass vases, jars of jelly, olive oil bottles that are like, you know, wine bottle shape size. We've even done some larger things, not in a lot of replicates, but even like a printer. That it gets a little bit harder to wrap a printer, you know, but so our sweet spot is kind of more in that around up to about 10 pounds, you know, which is a lot of is what people ship. So it's easier to conform around and wrap. And so, yeah, we've had a lot of fun doing some of that type stuff.
And we do the science too, right? So, I mean, in addition to the fun stuff and the ISTA testing, we have straight up engineering, compression, tension. We're tearing the stuff apart, we're crushing it, getting the engineering numbers, looking at it, understanding, comparing it to what else is out there. That's all part of bringing the science of, you know, at 3M and in the Scotch lab here to the Cushion Lock product.
It's an impressive company that you work for. And I know that in the last 20 years of working in the packaging industry, when I provide a product that's a 3M brand, I know it's going to work. And that's just always been the case. Your testing lab is abusive in the right ways. So well done. Keep up the good work. And yeah, you mentioned there's some new products coming about in this genre. Is there anything you can tell us about yet? Or is this the top secret information?
I mean, so like I said, you know, as a lab group, that's our job. We're constantly making up. I mean, within this family, I mean, this even just within the expanding paper Corrigan, I mean, there's so many directions we can go with this. And actually, as you know, talking with you and you know, with Pack Expo coming up, one of the real interests for me as a lab is I'm like, you know, I'm overly optimistic. I'll tell you, I can do anything. So I'm kind of like, what does the world need, right? Does it need to be a little stronger? Does it need to be softer? Does it need to be, you know, a different material? We went full on 100% recycled, but we know we can get different performance if there's, you know, tailored markets and different things we need. So like I say, I drive people nuts because I'll say, we can do anything. We've got some work on dispensers, way to use it, you know, and again, like where can it go? So it's really like, we're just at the beginning of this. And then as 3M as a broad company, we're even taking that basic Corrigan technology and pushing it into other areas unrelated to packaging as well. It's got some fundamental advantages of that, back to that folding wall and deployable materials that can absorb take a lot of strength. So
we have a periodic table that's a specific 3M periodic table. I don't know if you've seen it, and it has all sorts of different technologies on it. So maybe eventually Corrigan or something will be on there, because it's technologies that like adhesives, and those are used in a lot of different areas and a lot of different products. And so it's like the little kind of sandbox or, you know, toys that we can play with that you can pull in. So yeah, it's very interesting that we show that a lot. So it's very nerdy sciencey, but it's got different technologies on it than the standard periodic table. So
this is a safe space for packaging nerds. I've always supported.
I know, I'm so excited about this. Yeah, totally self-proclaimed packaging nerd. So
yeah, me too. Do you have any material there that hasn't been expanded that we can show the audience in a video and go
from a small roll here?
We got like I say, we got the small roll of, you know, flat unexpanded material. I mean, if you want a decent demo, like we said, Marcia can flip the camera around and it'll look a little more magical. Like I say, look at this. It does look like regular, you know, paper, and that, which is always a challenge, because when people don't understand it, now they're like, well, it's just paper. But you know, in general, when Marcia does her amazing demos, people are like, but once you expand it, and then once in person, it's a little more impressive, because you can see these walls are, you know, they're more than a half an inch tall. It had been a few thousandths of an inch paper. All of a sudden, boom, it's half an inch tall. And then once you wrap it around and you create these, you sort of built a net around an object, you know, and you know, which is what I think of these as, you know, it really is pretty amazing. But yeah, like I say, that's one of the challenges, especially these large rolls, which, right. So this is 26-pound roll, right? And
Yeah.
from a distance, it just looks like a roll of craft paper, probably, right?
Yeah, almost just looks like paper towel or something, but there's all these cuts in it that you don't see until you look up closer. So
Yeah, so it's
that's
kind of that.
the magic.
Yeah, the magic. That's one of the things we really like at, like I say, at 3M and in our Scotch here in our lab. It's like the fact that it looks like it's sort of a normal, it saves space, and boom, it pops out, expands out of nowhere. You don't need to use scissors or tape to hold it together. You know, it's got that magic element. The downside of that is, of course, people don't understand it in the market,
Right.
which is where this is really valuable to be able to kind of tell the story. I mean, I think we really believe eventually people, once they understand it, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. How did I live without this? It's kind of like the Post-it note story.
Right.
Right.
No one made that. And now people are like, yeah, I use them all the time.
We didn't know we needed it, and that's
Exactly.
you solved an issue, and I think the issue is, well, there's several here, but the largest issue, I think, immediately, of course, is the sustainability issue.
Yes.
The second issue, in my opinion, is the space savings. When I go into a warehouse and I see rolls and rolls and bundles of bubble, I think, oh my goodness, there's got to be a better way. And don't get me wrong, it works. It's a great product, and it's worked for many years, and it has its place. But when we can take this 26-pound roll that's this big around and replace it almost an entire bundle, an industrial sized bundle, that's impressive. And especially for small to mid-sized companies that are really struggling with space today because they've ordered too much materials, because they were scared that they weren't going to get them in time. But this is a common issue. Warehouse space has become a premium for sure.
We've even heard that some carriers are delaying shipments or charging extra for like the larger, the big boxes of bubble and such, because it takes up so much room in their trucks. So that space saving, like you said, Cory, is a huge thing on many fronts in various parts throughout the whole distribution.
And the pushback I've gotten so far in talking about this is, oh, great, now you're cutting down trees. And that's an obvious rebuttal, but the answer to that rebuttal is it's made from what? 100% recycled paper.
That cushion lock is 100% recycled. And, I mean, trees are a sustainable, I mean, that's an important part of it, that we're gonna have trees, and if you can sustainably forest them, and then you need some of that, and you're in the supply chain, and we're gonna live with paper. We have paper, people understand it, and we have a great infrastructure for handling it and recycling it, right?
Yeah, so it's the whole circularity.
So it's part of the circle.
Yep.
Yeah, so we can make it recycled, and then we recycle it again, and.
And what I'm learning about paper is it can be recycled dozens of times successfully, and you can keep those fibers in play in the industry, and which is exciting because it feels more sustainable. It is more sustainable. I want to also talk about your dispenser. Your dispenser doesn't require any electricity. It doesn't require a plug-in. It doesn't have a motor. It has just a few ball bearings and can you show us that? Do you have that handy?
Yeah, right. You can do it. You can do it, Tom.
Just grab it.
Tom's the inventor of the dispenser too.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
I'll just put this so we don't get the wedge. So we have like I say, the dispenser right here.
Beautiful.
Like you said, it's metal. We got some ball bearings. There's some, basic
Rollers there.
little,
Very
elements.
elegant design.
Attention. Yeah, a little tension knob that allows you to make sure you have the appropriate tension so that when you pull it, it expands properly.
And it looks like a face, like you did in one of your
Yeah.
podcasts, which was cute. I was like, oh,
There
Yeah.
you go.
fun. So,
The rollers look like eyeballs, so when you're
and then the handle looks like a mouth. So, yep,
Yeah.
it's really
that was a
cute.
good ad.
Thank you. There was one other thing I wanted to cover, and then you guys can add in any notes if you want. There was a concern with the weight of the paper. And my experience with it is it's very, very light, especially when expanded. Have you done any direct testing?
We're trying to get our arms around like how much you use versus and calculators but a lot of ours is showing that you can use, we say 2.5 times the packing power.
Yeah.
So, even if this is a little heavier than the same square footage of plastic bubble, you use less of it. So those honeycombs get really large compared to a bubble, 3/16 bubble, cell. So it offsets it probably. So if you use, more than double of bubble, even though bubble is really light, the weight isn't really something. So for that, shipping costs and things like that is probably where you're getting to. So you can use less layers of this to offset that potential weight difference. But really it is still pretty light.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about just the goal is you're putting an object perhaps in a box and you want to protect it. We create this nest, which is by design mostly air, and with this structure around it. And then again, plastic bubble is kind of doing the same thing. People don't always even package things properly. They don't, ideally you'd have 2.5 inches of kind of cushioning material around all sides. When you do that in most reasonable states, like, I mean, yeah, we're trying to get some numbers on exactly how much it is, but relative to the box itself and to the objects you put in it, the material is like negligible if it's, but again, people do care about those numbers. So it's like coming up. I mean, the fact is, the paper is generally less dense than, or, weighs less volumetrically than PET or what have you. But again, we have to kind of do the science to come up with a firm number on like how much more it actually weighs. But when it comes down to, like I said, the actual shipping cost and it really is down in the noise relative to the corrugated box and whatever you're putting in it.
Yep. And then we talked about a little bit, I think Tom said early on, and I don't know if it really fits here, but the conformability, like when you're wrapping with this versus the other maybe competitive paper, expanding wrap, plastic bubble for sure, you can really, get like 360 coverage, turn it and twist it around, spiral it if it's a longer, bigger item, where if you're using bubble, you probably are only rolling in one direction and you need to cut it, find those curves, tape it. Then when whoever gets it to unwrap it, I always feel like, okay, now I have to cut it, unroll it, maybe I'll drop it out. It might slide out the end, depending on what it is. And so just that conformability and immobilizing it, also versus like an air pillow or peanuts that just kind of fill void. We could use this as void fill, but this really keeps it immobilized and captured so it can't hit each other or hit the edges or get to an edge or bottom of the shipper. So there's just so much to it, but then yet so easy to just tear open, throw in your curbside recycling and be good to go.
And I like to think there's sort of two options, because we've seen both. As Marcia said, you have this nested object. The ideal is the center of your box, right? So by creating this nest around it, you're floating in the safest possible spot in the middle, protected from all directions. But when it comes to opening it up, so there's two solutions. One is the impatient people, which might be me, and you can literally just grab it, right? You can tear it apart and get in there.
Right.
But we have also seen there are people, believe it or not, there are people who
Like
are
my mom, probably.
patient enough to actually, you can unroll it. So I've sent things to people and they've, like I sent a coffee roaster in for repair wrapped in this, and it came back in the material itself.
Awesome.
They unwound it, they repaired it, and they sent it back. So I mean, you certainly can reuse it, which is great. That just adds to the reuse, recyclable then when you're finally done with it. So.
And some of that too, I talked a little bit about void fill with air pillows and things like that. I actually usually try and train on making it a little bit bigger than your box in one dimension so that it actually gets kind of squished in there, compressed, maybe a more technical term. So then you don't have to fill the whole length of the box, because it's going to stay immobilized in the middle of the box by just that friction or tension of it being a little bit bigger, a little bit compressed. So it works really well in just being able to simply wrap it, put it in there, and you're ready to go.
Yep, that's one of the strengths of Cushion Lock.
Well said. We call that blocking and bracing. We talk about that quite a bit in the world of packaging at Landsberg Aurora, but I'm excited to meet you guys at Pack Expo. Any big plans for Pack Expo at the booth?
You?
Yeah, what else is there? That's why we're going.
Well, it'll be my honor.
We're going to have demos, obviously, so people can touch and feel it, because that's really the seeing it and then touching it and feeling it. I do a ton of virtual demos because of COVID. This all started in. People see like my arms from here on down. You got to see it when we did one with you. So there's a wow factor you usually see with that. Now that I'm getting to do more live demos, there's a real wow factor, and people want to touch it and play with it, and they have all these ideas. So I think that'll be great to have so many people, all these packaging nerds wanting to look at it and see it. And so hopefully we'll get some good, and like Tom said, just some good feedback. Like, what else can we do? What can we go to next? This isn't the.
What do you still
this isn't
need?
the end.
Right. And keep innovating. Well said.
Right.
And there'll be 40,000 of our closest friends there, and it'll be an amazing event. So can't wait for Pack Expo. Well, thank you both. It's been an honor. And what's a good way for us to get in touch with you and your team?
You go online and through scotchbrand.com and make comments and things like that, because the cushion lock is on there. You can search it online, and scotchbrand.com and other like Amazon and such. If you just put in that Scotch brand cushion lock, protective wrap, some version of that, you can get to it. And then I actually am one that does look at those ratings and reviews for this product and some of our other products. So
And you can get to us directly as well. I mean, people, we're not like hiding up in a cave.
right, we're not that famous. We don't have agents.
You don't have to look that hard to find us. You can
Yes.
get to us.
That's the next step, I think. You guys will need agents and booking agents. And we'll see you in movies for sure. Well, thank you both, and thank you, Scotch Brand, for sponsoring this episode. We are excited to tell the world about it. It's an amazing, sustainable packaging option. Thank you both.
Great.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Cory.
Cory.
Bye.